Welcome to the Broken Bayonets channel, where imagination is the weapon and every detail is a deliberate lie. You are standing in a German forest as twilight bleeds through the skeletal trees. The air smells of wet earth, pine, and distant smoke. In the clearing ahead, you see the unmistakable silhouette of a Sherman tank, its cannon pointed menacingly toward the east. But as you draw closer, you notice the impossible way the shadows fall on its turret, the subtle sag in its hull. You reach out and touch it. The steel is not cold and hard, but yielding and cool, like the skin of a monstrous balloon. Have you ever wondered if the past is really the past? Or if it's a story, constantly retold, where some of the most important chapters were written in invisible ink by men who were never there? So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you find the content useful. We invite you to share which ghost legions of WWII history you know and which historical topics fascinate you the most. Now let's go back in time and walk in the footsteps of legend. The year is 1945, March. The war in Europe is dying a slow, violent death. You can feel it in the air, a strange mixture of hope and exhaustion that clings to you like the damp chill. The Allied armies have pushed across France, liberated Belgium, and survived the brutal shock of the Ardennes. Now you stand before the final great obstacle, the Rhine River. Beyond it lies the heart of Germany. Every real soldier in the Allied Expeditionary Force is thinking about that river, about the crossing, about the final push to Berlin. But you are not a real soldier, not in the way they are. You are a member of the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, though you'd never say that name aloud. To anyone who asks, and they always ask, you belong to some anonymous Signal Corps battalion or a dull engineering outfit. Your uniform bears the patch of a unit you've never served with. The letters you write home are masterpieces of vague reassurance, scrubbed clean by censors who are in on a secret bigger than any battlefield code. You are a ghost, a phantom, a member of an army that officially does not exist. Your comrades are not farmers from Kansas or factory workers from Detroit. They are artists from the Pratt Institute, sound engineers from RCA, architects, advertisers, and set designers from Broadway. Your unit has a carefully hidden and frankly astonishing secret. The average IQ here is 119, a full 10 points higher than the rest of the US Army. You're not here to charge machine gun nests. You're here to persuade the enemy that others are about to. You find yourself in a requisitioned barn near the German border, the air thick with the smell of hay, manure, and diesel fumes. An officer stands before a map pinned to a milking stall, his face half hidden in the flickering yellow light of a single lantern. This is the briefing for Operation Viersen. He taps a point on the map. This is where General William Simpson's 9th Army, a massive force of over 300,000 men, will cross the Rhine. The operation is called Flashpoint, and its success depends on overwhelming, concentrated force. But for that to work, the German defenders must be looking the wrong way. He drags his finger 10 miles south along the riverbank to a stretch of terrain near the city of Viersen. This, he says, his voice a low, serious murmur, is where the Germans will think we are crossing. This is our stage. Your mission is to conjure an army out of thin air. You are tasked with impersonating 2 entire American divisions, the 30th and the 79th. That's over 40,000 men, with all their attendant armor, artillery, and logistical support. You have to create a phantom buildup so believable that it will draw the German 11th Panzer Division and other key reserves away from the real crossing point. You look around at the men in the barn. There are only 1,100 of you. A ghost army indeed. It's a beautifully absurd, terrifyingly audacious plan. It feels less like a military operation and more like the grandest, most dangerous piece of performance art ever conceived. The weight of this deception is a physical presence. You understand that your work isn't about glory, it's about preservation. Every German artillery shell that falls on your empty inflatable tanks is one that doesn't fall on the real men of the Ninth Army. Every German unit that moves south to counter your phantom threat is a unit that isn't defending the actual bridgehead. The stakes are measured in the lives of men you will never meet. Historians will later debate the precise impact of your deceptions, poring over captured German intelligence reports and arguing about just how thoroughly the Wehrmacht was fooled.
Operation
For
Viersen,
decades,
confirmed
your
diversion of
entire
11th
unit's
Panzer
existence will
Estimated
remain
15,000 to
classified,
30,000
a
lives
footnote
saved.
so heavily redacted that it might as well be blank. You are fighting a war that history will forget, and that is the entire point. As the briefing concludes, a quiet determination settles over the group. There are no cheers, no battle cries, just the soft rustle of men putting on their gear, the clink of canteens, and the low murmur of conversations about frequencies and paint schemes. You walk out of the barn into the cold, pre-dawn air. The trucks are waiting, but they aren't filled with ammunition crates and medical supplies. They are loaded with strange, heavy bundles of rubberized canvas, massive speakers that look like they belong at a rock concert, and delicate radio equipment that can mimic the electronic heartbeat of an entire army. It's a strange feeling, preparing for a battle where the primary weapon is imagination. You and your fellow artists are about to paint a masterpiece of misdirection on a canvas 10 miles long, using mud, air, and sound waves as your medium. The curtain is rising on the final act of the war in Europe, and you have been cast in a leading, invisible role. You climb into the back of a truck, the engine groaning to life, and rumble off into the darkness to build an army that isn't there. The truck jostles you in the cold darkness, its canvas cover flapping in the wind like a frantic bird. You are part of a convoy without lights, a serpent of shadows slithering through the wounded landscape toward the Rhine. There's a quiet professionalism among the men around you. They are not talking about battle plans or last stands. They are debating the acoustics of a pine forest versus an open field.
Sound waves, the
You
frequency,
are
the
with the
resonance.
3102nd Signal Service Company, the sonic arm of this Phantom Legion. Your weapons are not rifles and grenades, but wire recorders, amplifiers, and gigantic speakers mounted on half-tracks. Your ammunition is a library of sounds, a carefully curated soundtrack for a war that is happening only in the enemy's imagination. You arrive at your designated position, a series of wooded bluffs overlooking a valley that slopes down toward the river. The real work begins under a sliver of moon. You and the others move with practiced efficiency, unspooling miles of cable, connecting them to a central control panel inside a squat, armored half-track. Then you unload the speakers. They are massive, 4-foot-high horns housed in heavy steel boxes, each weighing over 300 pounds. You grunt and strain, positioning them in a staggered line, angling them just so, 1,000 yards apart, camouflaging them with nets and freshly cut branches. It feels vaguely ridiculous, like roadies setting up for the world's most dangerous music festival. One of your comrades, a former sound designer for NBC Radio, pats a speaker housing and grins. Time to give Fritz a front-row seat to the concert. Inside the half-track, another man, a quiet genius who used to mix audio for Hollywood films, pause over his setlist. This is the heart of the illusion. The sounds you are about to broadcast are not generic stock effects. They are the result of months of painstaking work back at Fort Knox, Kentucky. The Army sent your unit there to record the real 3rd Armored Division going through its paces. They captured everything. The distinct clatter and squeal of a Sherman tank's treads on cobblestone. The throaty cough of a GMC truck starting up in the cold. The precise sequence of sounds made by an engineering battalion assembling a pontoon bridge. The shouted commands, the hammering, the splash of the bridge sections hitting the water. You have recordings of infantry marching, artillery crews loading their guns, even the casual, bitching chatter of GIs waiting for chow. Each sound is catalogued on a state-of-the-art wire recorder, a fragile technology that uses spools of thin steel wire to capture magnetic audio. Tonight, you will be the maestros of this symphony of deception. The order comes down the line, a whispered command passed from man to man. It's time. The engineer in the half-track cues the first track. He doesn't start with a full-blown armored assault. Deception, like any good story, requires a slow build. The first sound that breaks the nocturnal silence is subtle. A single Jeep engine, seeming to drive up a road a few miles away, stop, and then drive off again. A scout. Then silence returns for 20 minutes. You wait, listening to the forest breathe. You imagine a German listening post across the river, a soldier with headphones pressed to his ears. Did he hear it? Did he dismiss it as nothing? Then the next sound begins. It's the low, grinding rumble of tank treads, distant at first, then growing louder. The engineer skillfully mixes the audio, fading in the sounds of more tanks joining the first, creating the auditory illusion of an entire column moving into position under the cover of darkness. The speakers, powered by their own gasoline generators, are incredibly powerful. The sound waves they project can travel up to 15 miles, the vibrations thrumming through the very ground beneath your feet. It's an unsettling experience, standing in a quiet forest while hearing a ghost army materialize around you. Not exactly a deep fake video, but the ghost army's sonic illusions have a similarly creepy effect on intelligence gathering. Soon, the valley is filled with the carefully orchestrated cacophony of an army preparing for a massive assault. You broadcast the sounds of bulldozers clearing roads, of heavy artillery pieces being towed into position, the metallic clang of their trails hitting the earth. You add the human element, shouted orders that echo and then fade. The burst of a mock firefight as a patrol makes contact with the enemy. Every element is timed perfectly, following a script that mimics the standard operating procedure of a real division preparing to cross a river. General George S. Patton had used your unit before, during the siege of Brest in France, to plug a hole in his line with phantom soldiers, tying down thousands of German troops who were desperately needed elsewhere. He called you his traveling roadshow.
Move out!
Now, you are staging your final and most critical performance for General Simpson. You can't see the enemy, but you know they are listening. German intelligence prided itself on its radio intercept and sound-ranging units. They had become experts at identifying specific Allied divisions simply by the unique sonic signature of their movements. That is why your sound library is so specific, so authentic. You are not just broadcasting the sound of tanks. You are broadcasting the specific sound of the 79th Division's tanks. The entire illusion relies on this meticulous detail. But a nagging question always remains, a ghost in your own machine. How much are they buying? Are they hearing an army, or are they hearing a very loud record player in the woods? You can only perform your part and trust in the artistry of the lie. As dawn approaches, the sounds shift again, mimicking an army settling in, the noise of idling engines and final preparations before a daylight attack. You've filled the night with lies, hoping to draw real steel and real soldiers toward your phantom threat. The air is electric with the sound of an army that isn't there, and you stand watch, a silent conductor over a battlefield of pure noise. As the last of the sonic deception fades with the rising sun, a new phase of the operation begins. The auditory illusion was for the night, a symphony for unseen ears. Daylight demands a different kind of magic. You move from the speaker positions to the clearings and fields you had so carefully scouted just hours before. The men of the 603rd Camouflage Engineers, a unit filled with more painters, architects, and set designers than combat engineers, take the lead. You are no longer a sound technician. You are now a stagehand for the largest military theater in the world. The props are rolled out, heavy, olive-drab bundles of rubberized fabric that smells strongly of vulcanized rubber and fresh paint. You unroll the first bundle on the damp ground. It's a shapeless, deflated husk, but its stenciled markings read M4 Sherman. 4 of you gather around it, finding the valves. A gasoline-powered air compressor, bigger than a lawnmower, sputters to life with a noisy roar that seems to mock the sonic stealth you practiced all night. Slowly, miraculously, the creature begins to take shape. Seams stretch, creases disappear, and a turret, limp and pathetic moments before, swells with air and rises to its full, menacing height. Within 20 minutes, where there was only an empty field, there now sits a 32-ton behemoth of American armor. You can walk up to it, push against its side with your shoulder, and rock the entire machine with comical ease. A child could lift its cannon. This is your arsenal, an army of air. You and your comrades move across the landscape, inflating a ghost legion. Jeeps, 2.5-ton trucks, even the massive 115mm long-tom artillery pieces all spring to life from their rubber cocoons. It's an assembly line of illusion. From a distance of more than a few hundred yards, they are uncannily perfect. The manufacturers, a consortium of rubber companies like Goodyear and US Rubber, had worked from meticulous blueprints. They replicated every weld, every bolt, every seam of the real vehicles. But the true artistry comes after the inflation. You are handed a bucket of mud and a brush. Your job is to make them look used, to give them a story. An artist who once designed window displays for Saks Fifth Avenue directs you, pointing out that no real tank crew would leave their machine perfectly clean. You splash mud on the rubber treads, create patterns of wear and tear, and even paint fake unit insignias on the turrets.
Enemy, this
isn't just camouflage, it's character design.
Chaos.
You create fake tire tracks in the mud, driving a real Jeep around the inflatable ones to give the impression of constant movement and activity. You learn to think like a German reconnaissance pilot, flying at 5,000 feet at 200 miles per hour. What would he see? He wouldn't spot the slight wobble in a rubber barrel or the lack of a true metallic sheen. He would see shapes, patterns, and the unmistakable footprint of an armored division, digging in for an attack. The work is both physically demanding and intellectually bizarre. You wrestle with heavy, unwieldy rubber in the morning chill, and then spend hours debating the most convincing way to arrange a fake motor pool. A surprising historical fact often comes to mind as you work. Many of the techniques you are using were developed not by military strategists, but by stage magicians like Jasper Maskelyne, who helped the British create similar illusions in North Africa. Your commanding officer, Colonel Harry L. Reeder, a folksy but brilliant engineer, encourages this creative thinking. He fosters an environment where an idea from a cartoonist from New York is given the same weight as a suggestion from a West Point graduate. You position the tanks carefully, not in perfect parade ground lines, but in realistically dispersed tactical formations. Some are nestled in the edge of a wood line, others parked near a farmhouse. You even create fake command posts, complete with inflated radio tents and camouflaged jeeps. The illusion has to work on multiple levels. It's not enough to have tanks. You need the entire ecosystem of an army. But this creates a constant tension, a point of controversy that is never openly discussed, but always present. Your deception is designed to be seen from the air, but you are operating just miles from enemy lines. What happens if a German patrol stumbles upon your rubber army? The absurdity of the situation would be immediately revealed. You are a Potemkin village on the front lines, a theatrical set waiting for a critic to walk on stage and touch the props. Your only defense is a thin screen of actual machine gun nests and a handful of real anti-aircraft guns positioned to sell the illusion and provide a modicum of real protection. One afternoon, you see the proof that your work is being watched. A lone Focke-Wulf FW-190, a German reconnaissance plane, glints high in the sky, a silver hawk circling its prey. No one fires on it. That's the rule. You want it to see your work, to take pictures, to report back to its commanders. You continue your tasks, trying to look as natural as possible, a tiny actor on a giant stage. The plane makes a few passes and then disappears to the east. A quiet satisfaction settles over your unit. The bait has been seen. Now, you just have to hope the fish takes it. You look out over the valley, filled with your silent, hollow army. It's a strangely beautiful, profoundly deceptive sight. Like the meticulous detail of a stage, the Ghost Army's illusions are elaborately built, layer by layer. You have created the body of an army. Now, another part of your unit, the Signal Corps, must give it a voice. The rubber army is silent. It has the body of a fighting force, but it is a hollow shell, a museum of war waiting for an audience. Its soul is elsewhere, humming in the cold German air. You find it a few miles back from the inflatable front, inside a commandeered stone farmhouse. From the outside, it is unremarkable, a place of sleeping cows and stored grain. But inside, it is the nerve center of the entire deception. Wires snake across the stone floor like black ivy, connecting a series of sophisticated radio sets that hum with latent power. The air smells of ozone, stale coffee, and the damp wool of your uniform. Men with headphones clamped to their ears hunch over their equipment, their faces illuminated by the green glow of cathode ray tubes. This is the domain of the Signal Company, and you are about to broadcast an army into existence. Your mission is to create the electronic ghost of two divisions. In modern warfare, an army is not just a collection of men and machines. It's a dense, chaotic, and utterly distinctive cloud of radio traffic. Every unit, from the divisional command down to a single tank, is constantly chattering. German intelligence units, the Funkabwehr, are masters at intercepting and analyzing this chatter. They can identify a division just by its electronic signature, the volume of its traffic, the frequencies it uses, and even the unique rhythm of its Morse code operators. Your job is to replicate that signature so perfectly that the Germans won't just hear an army. They'll recognize the specific divisions you are impersonating, the 30th and 79th, which are, at this very moment, secretly moving into position miles to the north. You are handed a script. It's a thick binder, a minute-by-minute schedule for a symphony of lies. It details which call signs are active at what times, what kind of traffic they should be sending, and how their signal strength should vary to mimic movement. It's the most complex piece of theater you have ever been a part of. The true genius of the operation, a little-known fact that separates your work from simple jamming, lies in its subtlety. You don't just broadcast random noise, you broadcast character. You've been assigned the role of a radio operator in a tank company. Your script includes snippets of authentic-sounding dialogue, complaints about the K rations, a request for fuel, a coded message about a planned reconnaissance. The most crucial detail, however, is the one you practiced for weeks. Every Morse code operator has a unique sending style, a distinctive cadence and weight to their dits and das, known as a fist. It's as individual as a signature. The signal company has sent its best mimics to the real 30th and 79th Divisions to study the fists of their primary operators. The man sitting next to you, a former telegraph operator from Philadelphia, spent a month listening to a sergeant in the 79th until he could replicate his style perfectly. Now, he taps his key, and a few miles away, German listeners hear a familiar voice on the airwaves, confirming their belief that the 79th is right where they expect it to be. It's a stunningly meticulous, almost insane level of detail. The broadcast begins. You key your microphone and speak your lines, affecting the flat, bored, Midwestern accent of the operator you're impersonating. Dog 7 to dog lead, running low on 50 cal, over. The response comes from another operator across the room, pretending to be miles away. The illusion is layered. You use different transmitters to make it seem like the signals are originating from different locations across your 10-mile phantom front. Some signals are sent via repeater stations to simulate long-distance communication between headquarters and the front line. The Germans are listening to a conversation between ghosts, played by a troupe of dedicated actors. There's a constant, underlying tension in the room. This is a high-stakes electronic duel. The Funkabwehr are not a passive audience. They are actively trying to poke holes in your story. They use direction-finding equipment to try and triangulate your positions. To counter this, you use mobile transmitters mounted in the back of trucks. These roamers drive around the operational area, broadcasting for a short time from one location before moving to another, creating the impression of a large fluid force. It's a game of cat and mouse played across the electromagnetic spectrum. Historians would later find German intelligence reports from this period noting the sudden appearance of the 30th and 79th Divisions in this sector, but they also noted some electronic peculiarities they couldn't quite explain. The mystery of how much they truly believed and how much was dismissed as atmospheric distortion or Allied trickery remains a point of debate. You are building a web of convincing fiction, thread by invisible thread. The sound effects gave the army a physical presence. The inflatable tanks gave it a body. But this, the spoof radio, is what gives it a mind. It creates the illusion of command and control, of purpose, of thousands of men communicating, planning, and preparing for battle. It's the brain of the monster you've created. As you sign off from another transmission, a piece of utter nonsense coded to look like a vital intelligence report, you lean back. The air in the farmhouse is thick with lies, a fog of deception rolling out across the Rhine Valley, designed to blind the enemy as the real fist of the Ninth Army prepares to strike. The electronic ghosts you conjured in the farmhouse now require a physical presence, a human face to complete the illusion. The deception cannot exist only on the airwaves and in the distant fields of rubber. It must walk and talk. It must be seen by German eyes. You leave the humming radio room behind and climb into the driver's seat of a Jeep. Your passenger is a corporal who a year ago was designing sets for theatrical productions in Cleveland. Today, his job is to make sure the patches on your shoulder are convincingly frayed and that the mud on your Jeep's tires is the correct local shade. Like the meticulous detail of a stage, every part of the human illusion must be perfect. Your destination is a small German town, a few miles from your operational area, a place recently secured by actual American infantry. They've already moved on, leaving a nervous quiet in their wake. As you drive through the streets, past houses with white sheets of surrender hanging limply from windows, you feel the eyes of the locals on you. They are your audience. You are not here to fight or to occupy. You are here to perform. This part of the mission is known as creating atmospherics, a clinical-sounding term for what is essentially street theater, designed to mislead an entire army. You pull up to the town's Rathaus, or town hall. A handful of your men, dressed in crisp MP uniforms with perfectly polished helmets, are already there, looking impossibly official as they stand guard. They are, of course, a painter from Brooklyn and a sculptor from Philadelphia. Inside, your set dressing crew has been at work. They have transformed the burgomaster's office into the bustling headquarters of a divisional command staff. Maps are pinned to the walls, covered in arrows and notations that point directly to an attack across the Rhine from this very sector. Field telephones ring with no one on the other end. A sergeant hurries past with a sheaf of papers containing nothing but gibberish. Then, the main event begins. A staff car, a captured German Mercedes-Benz, flying an American one-star flag, pulls up with a theatrical squeal of tires. Out steps a man who radiates an aura of absolute command. He is tall, silver-haired, with a jaw that could cut glass, and a voice that booms across the cobblestone square. He is supposedly a brigadier general, here to do a final inspection before the big push. In reality, he is a former stage actor from Chicago, chosen for this role because of his imposing presence and his talent for improvisation. You watch as he strides into the Rathaus, loudly berating a fake colonel for a minor infraction, his voice carrying clearly to any curious local ear. He speaks in loud, clear English, knowing that in any occupied town, there is always someone who understands. This is the human element of the grand illusion, and it is perhaps the most audacious. While the inflatable tanks are meant to fool a pilot miles in the sky, this performance is designed to fool a baker, a priest, or a child. The goal is to seed rumors, to create a story that will spread through the local population and inevitably find its way to German intelligence. A surprising number of your comrades in the 23rd were recruited specifically for these skills. They are actors, conmen, and advertisers, masters of persuasion, now applying their trades to the art of war. Later, your role becomes more subtle. You and a few others are dispatched to a local guest house that has been permitted to reopen. You sit at a wooden table, drinking weak German beer, and you talk. You talk loudly, complaining about the terrible food, the cold, and most importantly, about the big attack that's supposedly coming in the next 48 hours. You mention your unit, the 79th Division, by name. You drop hints about pontoon bridges being assembled just up the river. It's a delicate performance. You have to sound authentic, like a genuinely disgruntled GI. not a spy planting information. A man sitting in the corner, pretending to read a newspaper. Is he just a local? Or is he a stay-behind agent? You will never know. That is the central nagging mystery of this part of the job. You plant these seeds of misinformation, but you never get to see if they bear fruit. Did that bartender report what he heard? Was his report passed up the chain of command? Did it influence a single German officer's decision? The effectiveness of your performance is a ghost you will chase for the rest of your life. As dusk falls, the show ends. The general gets back in his car and speeds away. The MPs abandon their posts. You finish your beer and head back to your own lines. The fake headquarters is dismantled in under an hour, leaving the burgomaster's office exactly as you found it. You have been a whisper, a rumor, a fleeting impression. You've added the final, most intimate layer to the deception. You have given your ghost army a voice on the radio, a body in the fields, and now a face in the towns. The enemy has been invited to watch your play from every possible angle, from the sky, over the airwaves, and through the windows of their own homes. The stage is set. The audience is watching. All that remains is for the real attack to begin, miles away, under the cover of your magnificent lie. The night of March 23rd stretches thin and cold. Every element of your grand deception is running at its peak. The speakers in the valley below are playing their most dramatic track, the sounds of an armored division assembling for a final pre-dawn assault. The inflatable tanks, hulking shadows under the pale moonlight, look terrifyingly real. In the radio trucks, your comrades are broadcasting a storm of frantic, coded traffic, simulating the final commands for a massive river crossing. Your entire 10-mile front is a cacophony of carefully orchestrated lies. And then, through the noise your own machines are making, you hear it, a low, persistent rumbling from far to the north. It is not coming from your speakers. It is the sound of real artillery, thousands of guns firing in unison. It's the overture to Operation Flashpoint. The real attack has begun. There is nothing for you to do now, but wait. The success or failure of your mission is being decided 10 miles away, in a battle you cannot see, fought by men who do not know you exist. You stand in the darkness and listen to that distant thunder, a sound that both terrifies you and fills you with a strange sense of pride. Every German shell that is falling on your empty patch of land, every enemy reserve unit that is rushing south to meet your phantom army, is a testament to the power of your illusion. Your job was to draw the enemy's gaze, to become the focus of their fear and attention. And as the northern sky pulses with the dull orange light of a real war, you know you have succeeded. Just before dawn, the word comes, not over the spoof radio network, but through a single, coded message delivered by a lone motorcycle courier. The Eagle has landed. It's the signal. General Simpson's 9th Army is across the Rhine. They have established a bridgehead, and the initial resistance was lighter than anticipated. A wave of profound, silent relief washes over you and the men around you. There are no cheers, no shouts of victory. That is not your way. Your victory is measured in silence, in the absence of casualties, in the success of a plan that will be immediately buried in classified after-action reports. Your job is not over. In some ways, the most critical part has just begun. The vanishing act. The order is given to dismantle the theater. It happens with a speed and efficiency that is, in itself, a form of magic. The radio operators send their final, garbled messages and then power down their transmitters. The dense web of electronic chatter that had defined this sector for days simply evaporates. The command posts are stripped, the maps rolled up, the jeeps driven away. Packing up is surprisingly simple. Defeating an armored division, it turns out, is as easy as pulling the plug. You return to the fields where your rubber army waits. You approach a Sherman tank, the same one you so carefully inflated and muddied, and you open its main air valve. The sound is a great sighing hiss, like a dying beast releasing its final breath. The turret sags, the cannon droops pathetically, and the entire 32-ton illusion collapses in on itself, folding into a heap of pathetic, wrinkled rubber. You move from one vehicle to the next, killing your army one by one. The jeeps, the trucks, the mighty Long Tom artillery pieces, all of them exhale and die. Within 2 hours, the fields are empty. The formidable armored division that had sat here, menacing the German lines, is gone. The only evidence you will ever hear are the strange, circular patches of flattened grass and the now meaningless tire tracks in the mud. Like the meticulous detail of a stage being struck after the final curtain, every trace of your performance is erased. You climb into a real truck, part of a real convoy that will slip away into the chaos of the advancing Allied front. You look back one last time at the empty German landscape. You arrived in darkness, and you leave in darkness. You created a force of 40,000 men from nothing, held the attention of an enemy army, and then disappeared without a trace. There will be no parades for the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops. There will be no battle streamers for Operation Viersen. In fact, the story of your unit, your strange and brilliant comrades, and the phantom armies you conjured will be classified top secret for more than 50 years, a secret held until 1996. Your victory is your own invisibility. You are a ghost, fading back into the fog of a war that is almost over, leaving behind only a mystery and a handful of very confused German intelligence officers. Your war was a lie, and it was the most important truth you could have told. The frantic noise of the ghost war now fades, and the echoes of its strange, imaginary battles recede into the quiet corridors of the past. The story of these men, these artists and engineers who wielded illusion as their primary weapon, is not one of glorious charges or last stands, but of a more subtle, more cerebral form of courage. It serves as a quiet reminder that history is a vast and complex tapestry, woven not only with the bold threads of famous armies and decisive battles, but also with the invisible strands of secrets, deceptions, and untold stories. The truth of the past is often found not in the thunder of the cannons, but in the whispers that were carried on the wind, shaping events in ways we are only now beginning to understand. As you leave this story behind, let the image of a silent, inflatable tank settle in your mind, a powerful monument to the profound idea that sometimes the most effective weapon in a war is the one that was never really there at all, a ghost in the machine of history.